What's going on, everybody? This is officially another episode of the Realtor Spotlight. Today we have Mike Campos and Mario Arias.
What's up?
What up?
Yes. Hello, everybody.
Thank you for coming on the show. It's a pleasure meeting you guys. I know recently you just made a big move to the Over South team, so I wanted to sit down with you guys and let you guys tell your story to everybody who's watching. And maybe we'll dive into some cool topics. So looking forward to it.
Sounds good.
First off, I always like to ask this question. How'd you guys get in the business?
You want to go first?
I'll go first, yeah.
All right.
So the way I got into the business, right, it was December 2018.
All right.
Right? I bought my first condo.
Okay.
I bought my first condo, and I was intrigued with it. I bought it, saved up a lot of money. Once I purchased it, I put like $10K into it. I took out a credit card, put $10K into it, renovated it, and put it on Airbnb immediately. And I want to say by February, it was ready to go, and it was cash flowing. And it just, once I did that, I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to invest in real estate. Anything that I do has to be associated with real estate. So I started looking into it, and then it just made sense to become an agent.
Right.
Now, my real passion for finding real estate was in the investing side, but naturally, I've become such a like a salesman, and just really interested in marketing. So sales, marketing, personal relations, it all ties into the real estate career. And the more I started looking into it, I was just intrigued by it. The whole flexibility, creating your schedule, commission, the entrepreneur lifestyle behind it. I enjoyed it. So I want to say.
And what'd you do before that?
Before that, I did a lot of things. I worked in many jobs. I worked at banks. I worked at warehousing. I worked at construction, a demolition company. I did many different jobs, just trying to find, what is it that I'm going to do?
Right.
What is it that's going to stay as my career?
And your first experience with real estate was actually investing in real estate.
Yeah, because.
And then you got the bug.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, investing in real estate, seeing how it works, seeing how it's such a sure investment, versus investing in any business. And it's all risky. But
Right.
with real estate, you have so many stats and data that can just help you be sure about what's going to happen.
Right.
Forecast the numbers.
Right. And you're a fan of Airbnb investing?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100% I believe in it. I think that it could be a very lucrative business.
Cool.
If you do it right.
Cool.
100%.
And what about you, Mario? How'd you get in the business?
I agree. So I graduated college, and I got a couple temporary jobs out of college because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into some sort of like either financing, like the financing industry, not as far as mortgages go, but more like financial investments. And I wanted to do some sort of consulting work with businesses, work with the kind of back end, that kind of thing. And I got a job doing it was a third party company that worked with Verizon. We did sales. And then I also worked at a warehouse temporarily where my aunt manages. And then I decided while I was there, I met someone who had a license, a real estate license.
Okay.
And I asked them, why aren't you doing real estate? What are you doing in here?
Right.
And they were like, bro, I have two kids. I need money on the table now. Real estate takes too long for me. I couldn't get a deal done, in time. And then I started thinking to myself, I'm young. I have no kids. I have no, I didn't have a lot of responsibilities.
Right.
I was like 21 years old when I talked to this guy. So I was thinking to myself, let me look into it, and I ended up getting my license shortly after. And I met with the person who he was sponsored under, who was Antonio Russo, was the broker over at True Homes. I met him, and I joined his office, and I started doing real estate at 22 years old.
And how long ago was that?
That was 7 years ago.
And then how long have you been in the business?
Damn. I got licensed in Florida first because I was living in
2018, you said.
No, I bought my property in 2018, but it was during the pandemic, March 2020.
That you got licensed.
That I got licensed in Florida.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you were living in Florida? The condos
Yes.
in Florida?
The condos in Florida. Yes,
Gotcha.
This is all in Florida.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And now what brought you to New York?
Well, I was
It's not the
born.
weather.
It definitely is the weather. Unlike many people, I
You like
hate
the
the
cold?
heat. I hate it.
Sweat too
I don't
much.
wear flip flops, shorts, tank tops. It's not my kind of style. I like, the hoodies. I like wearing layers. I like
All right, so you're meant to be
jeans,
here. Yeah.
and I like the cold. I can't.
He grew up in New York.
And I
so-
grew up in New York too.
Yeah.
So I was
Okay.
born in Queens. I lived a good portion of my life in Queens, another portion in Long Island. When I was about, I want to say, 13, 14, I moved to Florida. And then at the age of, what was it 2020? That's when I got licensed.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got licensed in New York last year.
Okay. So you've
I've been
been
doing
in
Florida
You've been doing real estate sales for about 3 years,
3 years.
and then you've been doing real estate sales for about 7.
Since 2016. Yeah.
Okay.
So about 7
I got my
years.
license March 2016.
So what would be a piece of advice for somebody getting started? Because both you are at, you're hitting your stride, 3
Yeah.
years in the business. I feel
Yeah.
like it starts to click around that time.
Yes.
You're
First year,
7
second
years,
year.
so you're
Yeah.
basically a veteran at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who just got their license yesterday?
Okay,
You're gonna
I
go-
would say you have to completely you have to be a sponge. You have to be willing to learn every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Something new comes up every single day.
Yes,
You have to be
that's true.
willing to you
100%.
really have to make yourself a people person
Mhm.
because we are in the business of we're not in the, in the business where we're actually selling a product or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go out and make ourselves trustworthy, and we have to build relationships with people.
Right.
So you have to be a people person. And the main thing you have to do is focus on your work, focus on learning, focus on education. And the more you learn, the better you'll be at what you do. So
Right.
that's my advice to anyone starting off in real estate. Learn, be a sponge, educate yourself, be willing to learn from people, and be a people person.
Right. Work on your craft. I
Yeah.
think there's very few real estate professionals that actually do that.
Yeah.
Out of all the thousands of people that get licensed, there's only a portion of them that like start to invest into themselves and start to try to learn skills and try to get more knowledge.
Yeah.
There is something dangerous about that because you could be the person that just focuses on learning and not doing.
Right.
Because you can get caught into that trap very
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
But I think every single top producer spends a portion of their time honing their skills and learning and keeping their minds open to new stuff.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to conferences or doing team trainings or, YouTube or whatever it is, there's some sort of like self-education that everybody who really does this business does at
Yeah.
some capacity.
Yeah.
Hiring a coach could be another
Mm-hmm.
extreme, so that's really good advice.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah, it would pretty much be in that same direction. If you just got licensed, congratulations. Now it's time to learn the business of real estate.
Right.
Now it's time to, work to learn before you work to earn.
right?
You want to take this first year and just learn as much as you can. Find a mentor if you could.
Mhm.
Someone who can guide you. It's definitely the first thing you would want to do, and see if it's for you. It's
Right.
not for everybody. A lot of people get their license and then they quit. Within 2 years.
I feel
true.
like the mentor piece is really key.
Yeah.
Can you guys speak a little bit about like, your first mentor maybe
Yeah.
and how that's helped you and played a role in your success?
Yeah, 100%. So when I joined True Homes, shout out to Antonio Russo over at True Homes. He was my mentor, took me under his wing. A lot of the first year was super like hard grind mode.
Mhm.
Like we would meet at the office every Saturday, 8 a.m., and we would go over a lot of finance because Antonio has 20 years in experience in the mortgage business
Mhm.
before he became a real estate salesperson and then eventually a broker. So he knows basically all there is to know about financing. And he told us it's important you know this.
Right.
You need to know about the world of financing in order to sell real estate.
Right.
And it's very true. And he taught me everything that I need to know about financing in the first year.
Right.
We would meet every Saturday, and then he also would take me under his wing for showings, how to talk to people, how to answer calls, how to get people to kind of just make their decisions, but guide them along the way.
Right.
So that that was very important. Mentorship. That mentorship went a long way, and it taught me so many things. It's very important.
So it sounds like you had like somebody who was like an active mentor.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like a lot of people, they get in the business, and this could transcend industries. I feel like their quote unquote mentor is just like somebody who takes a piece of their commission, and that's it. You know, where there's no value, there's no providing of anything, and I feel like those are the people that take twice as long to learn the business, right? Where if, like, I know for me, like when I first got started in the business, I had somebody every single morning do sales trainings with me, and we'd role play, and we would go back, because I got started as a telemarketer. So we'd role play back and forth. We had, you know, a bunch of sales guys in the room. All right, now it's your turn to pitch, and now it's your turn to pitch, and now it's your turn to pitch. And then he'd say, I'm not interested. And we would have to come up with rebuttals.
Right.
I had that every single day in the morning.
There you go.
And then not only that, where throughout the day, I had the support of people who knew how to put together files, people who would like overhear conversations and be like, no, you should have said this. So I'd like, and then I think that's the reason that like I was able to learn the sales part of the business so quickly. The structuring of files takes years. But the sales part of the business I was able to learn pretty quickly because I had that structure and support and a true like active mentor that was guiding me along that journey, who's already done it. So I think that's part of the reason that you're successful today. I'm sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
100%.
What about you? Any thoughts on mentors? And
it helps you 100% getting a mentor in the real estate business when you're a realtor, and like you said, in many lines of work, but specifically in this, because it's such a slippery slope. You just never know what you're gonna get hit with. You just never know what's gonna happen in a transaction. Even after 7 years in the business or 10 years in the business, there's gonna be things that are gonna happen, and you have to just troubleshoot it. You have to find a way to close this deal, and that's where the real experience comes in. There's nothing you can learn in a book, something you can learn on Google. It's through a mentor who's going to look at the situation, analyze it, and help you guide through it when you get into those sticky situations. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen 100%. Even now, 3 years in the business, every time I'm in a real estate transaction, and I'm pretty sure it's the same with you, every time you enter a transaction, you always learn something new.
There's so many nuances. Now it's getting to the point where I'm like, all right, I've been through this before. I know exactly what to do, especially on the mortgage side. Like a good mortgage person makes stuff look super easy, but in the background we're going to war. So now I got to the point where it's like, what about that one file we did last year with the same exact scenario? Why don't we do it that way? And it's like, you start to have like case studies of stuff, but there's always, even if there is similarities of situations, there's always new stuff and nuances with those situations. Like it's never 100% the same thing every single time. There's always, especially again on our side of the business, there's so many little like, all right, this is a super easy file, but this came up on the bank statement. Like there's always something to troubleshoot. So I think it's important to not only have a mentor, even if you've been in the business a long time and you don't need that person that's actively over your shoulder, you still need a team and people you can call and a support system where you can just run things by them. A lot of the time, I know from helping loan officers on our division, a lot of times they know a answer, but they don't know the best one, right? And there could be 3 options to choose from as far as solutions for a problem, and they only see one. And just bringing up the other two, number 2 and number 3, can drastically improve that customer's experience. And I always say, like, some loan officers, when they run into a problem, they're taking the scenic route. Like, it'll get done that way, but that's not the best way to do it. Like, there's a more direct route that you can take. Like, instead of amending tax returns from 2021 or 2020 or 2022, like, let's not do that. Let's do this. The house has an accessory unit and it's permitted and we're not bringing it up, or, it's just other solutions to. So sometimes you're competent and you know an answer,
Yep.
but just having a second pair of eyes or a second voice on things, you can come up with another one that you didn't see.
Exactly.
100%. I agree.
Exactly.
100%. And that experience really comes through.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the client, they may or may not notice this,
Right.
but once they're happy with your work,
Mhm.
then you did the right thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I pride myself, like, even when problems come up, the way we handle problems is what I pride myself on, because
Yeah.
problems are always going to come up, and a
They
lot of
always-
stuff you can avoid.
When you get hit with adversity, how do you
Yeah,
handle it?
exactly. And a lot of problems you can avoid in this business,
Yeah.
which is the bigger industry or loan officer or realtor problem is, like, you should have saw that coming, right?
Mhm.
However, even if you do everything, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, there's still stuff that's going to come up. It's in those moments. How do you handle it? How do you speak to the customer? How do you provide solutions? How quickly do you provide solutions? Like, do you just sit on problems for 3 weeks and
Right.
wait for something to solve itself? Because that's not
Right.
it.
Right.
Or do you duck and not answer the call because you're afraid you don't know what to say right now and you're waiting for an update? Like, we can all easily get into that mind frame, and I think it's that shows to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
The customers aren't mad at the problems; they're mad about how we're handling them.
Right.
So that's something that we really pride ourselves on, and something that, like, I kind of unhealthily obsess over is, like,
Yeah.
all right, watch this. A
Right.
problem popped up. Watch this. We're gonna handle this. Which is, I think, part of the reason people like working with us. But
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about
That's
what
good.
you guys, where you guys are at today. Like, I know, like I mentioned in the beginning, you guys recently made a big move
Yeah.
to the Over South team. You joined Death Row. Death Row Records. You guys just got signed. You guys just got signed. How's that going? And what inspired that move?
Sure. So I'll go into it because it was really, like, on my side.
Okay.
So
he's the ringleader of this.
So for some context, Mike had mentioned earlier that he got his license recently in New York.
Right.
More recently, within the past year. So when I was at the other brokerage, True Homes, I brought him in, and we were doing the training and everything for New York, because New York real estate is very different from Florida real estate.
Mhm.
It's
There was
different.
still a lot
100%.
of learning to do, and I think you were only there for about 3 months, and I ended up meeting with someone from Signature, and they had suggested I speak to Sean, because that same day I spoke to that person at Signature, they opened up Sean's Instagram story, and they were like, look, and
Right.
Sean had posted that he was looking for a bilingual agent
Mm-hmm.
who was looking to double or triple their business this year.
Right.
DM me.
Right.
And so she was like, look, he's looking for a bilingual agent. Aren't you bilingual? You should talk to him. And I was like, yeah, I am bilingual, actually, and I probably will talk to him. So I had a nice long conversation with Sean that same day. And at that point, I was already getting pretty convinced that I would work with Sean.
Mm-hmm.
And I later met with him that same day at a networking event that night. And I started to really think about making the switch, because I had never thought about switching companies. I was actually very happy at True Homes, but I did want to grow exponentially, and I did want to experience more opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I felt, and bigger opportunities, which is what I felt I would get with Signature and with Sean at the Over South team.
Cool.
So I told Sean, I was like, listen, I think I'm down to make the switch, but it's not just me. I was like, I can't just leave my cousin Mike. I brought him into True Homes.
Yeah.
I can't just leave him there. I can't just go.
It's a good guy. He wasn't just gonna leave you stranded.
So Sean was like, listen, if he's anything like you, I'd be happy to have both of you come and join the team.
Right.
So that's what we did. I told him about it. He was like, he was like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you're ready to make this move? You've been at the company a long time.
But we did the devil's advocate. You came to me, you called me, and you were very excited about this news.
Yeah.
And you can tell when he calls you, it's like there's something you're gonna tell me. I can
Right.
tell. And then we just talked about it for I don't know, man, hours,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
discussing, running numbers,
Yeah.
checking this, checking that. What's it gonna be like? Just
Yeah.
googling a bunch of stuff. It's it gets pretty overwhelming. But the more we talked about it, the more it just made sense.
Mm-hmm. And now what are we? Today's April 20th. We're about a month and a half, about a month and a half in.
Little month and a half, yeah.
And how's it going?
It's going great.
Well, tell me a little bit, like, not only how's it going with the team, just tell me where you're at as far as business today. And like, I know you guys, I respect what the mindset that you guys have and are applying to the business, because I feel like it's missing from the industry. Like that like I show up suited and booted, ready to go, like consistently.
Stay ready.
Because I feel like sometimes people can be, and I'm not talking about only dress code.
Yeah.
I'm talking about mindset. Some people can be casual when it comes to real estate, and I don't think that works in this market, especially if you haven't established yourself.
Yeah.
So I feel like you guys are approaching this like a bit for outside looking in, and I could be wrong. Outside looking in, but I think I'm right. It looks like you guys are showing up every single day, hitting the phones, and treating this like a business. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that, and also just where you guys are at in the business right now.
Yeah, I see myself as a real professional, and I want to carry myself that way, and I want people to see me that way. Right. So that's why, I wear shirt and tie. Well, today I don't have a tie on. When the weather gets nice, no tie.
Yeah.
Right. Open it
I have
up.
a Yankee game. For the people watching that usually see me in a suit, I have a Yankee game, and I'm not showing up in a suit. I have,
why not?
Nah.
Why not, man?
This is actually too dressed up for a baseball game, in my opinion.
Too dressed up?
Yeah. But go ahead.
But I feel like, I dress for the role, and that puts me in the mindset to now play that role, and I always want to be looked at as a professional. So that's where the dress code kind of comes in for me. And you feel the same way. Mike has a good saying. What's that?
So listen, there's nothing wrong with looking nice.
That's true.
And so my thing is, if you stay ready, then you ain't got to get ready.
Exactly.
So I always just stay ready, because you never know when you're going to have to show up somewhere, a last minute thing, a last minute showing, and you're good to go. You never have to worry about, but look what I'm wearing right now. I was just going to go do a little Walmart trip. I didn't think this was going to happen. So I like to just stay ready. Every day I just dress up. Even if I don't have a showing, I show up, man. That's it.
Or you meet someone.
That was a bomb right there. We make sure we
meet
clip
someone.
That.
Always.
But I know you guys came. I like this. See, this is what I'm talking about. You guys came with questions for me.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, like, we got questions for you.
It's not just like you're some casual realtors that are walking around. Maybe do a mailer every now and then. No, you guys are out here.
This is my career, man. This is my business. I treat it like my business. Right. I treat this like a real estate business, not like a realtor.
What is evident when I met you guys. That's exactly the best way to define it. This is my career.
Yeah. This is my career,
and I feel like some people are just passing through real estate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or at least that's how they go about it.
Yeah.
But hit me with some questions. I'm ready.
Right.
I don't know any of these questions. I was not prepared for this.
Yeah.
This is new for the Realtor Spotlight. Usually I'm the one answering the questions, but I'm okay.
So I hear a lot of talk about, the rates. It's been such a hot topic, right? Okay. Such a hot topic. Everybody has been learning about rates for the past year. From just a lender's opinion, because nobody really knows. But do you think we will ever see those rates again? And you know what rates I'm talking about?
In the threes? I say we might see fours again.
Yeah.
I think that's in the cards. We'll definitely see fives.
Yeah.
I would say by the end of the year we'll see rates in the fives.
I hope so.
I know so. I'm very confident. Good. We touched five. I put it out there on social media that we would get into the fives by the end of quarter one. We hit 5.99 at one point. And I didn't rub it in anybody's faces because as soon as we hit 5.99, they shot back up to 6.5. So I was kind of right, kind of wrong. But as you can see from the past few months, we've already tested those levels, and the market already has that in it. To go to fives. So to answer your question, fives definitely, fours maybe, threes and twos not unless something drastic happens where the government's starting to print money again. Could be war. It's the only thing that World War III happens, and the government wants to and it's kind of scary, but the government wants to stimulate the economy, and they start printing money like they did in COVID. We'll hit the twos and threes again for sure.
Yeah.
Let's hope it. I'd rather not have World War III and have rates
Right.
in the 4s or 5s though. So
100%. No, I agree. You got a question?
I agree. Yeah, I do have a question. So you recently put out a realtor cheat sheet.
yeah,
Shout out to Not Your Average Lender on Instagram.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
For the dropping that. No, it's very good. So my question is based off that. Do you feel not enough realtors, or from your experience in the past, you feel not enough realtors know even what's on that cheat sheet, or just know in general enough information about financing to help, like not necessarily to help the clients, but
I would say not enough realtors know enough about mortgages, and not enough loan officers know enough about real estate. And that's something that I've always tried to solve. That's a problem that I've always tried to solve, whether it's through training for my referral partners, or, I've read Ryan Serhant's books just because I want to know your world just like I know my world.
Yeah.
It goes back to treating this like a career and a business, like, and working on your craft. Like that's to me, I feel like, the loan officer that you work with should always be kind of teaching you things and just throwing new info at you. So that's the loan officer that I try to be with my referral partners, because I know you guys are often the first point of contact. So if you have the information, then you can decipher, like, oh, we could do it. We could do what Eric was telling us last week about, and that's a deal that we would have got, or we got that we wouldn't have because you didn't know that information.
Yeah.
I think it also helps when problems come up because you understand why they're problems. I also think it helps when communicating with customers because you know how to answer questions. But the goal, I think it's important to mention, the goal shouldn't be become a loan officer, because you shouldn't be answering every single question when it comes to mortgages, because that can put you in a bad spot. But knowing enough to finish that convo but you should call Eric is my goal.
Yes.
So just that's the best way to answer anything. Same thing with me. Like,
you should call Eric.
So when somebody asks me, a customer asks me, do I need a survey? I'm going to tell them, no, we don't require a survey to close. However, you should speak with your attorney.
Right.
Because that is, I know enough where I can get the loan closed without a survey, but I also know enough that your attorney probably isn't going to like that idea. So why don't you speak with them, because they're going to be able to explain to you why you should get a survey, or 100%. Why you need one, or why you don't need one. But that's good. That's always the best way to answer any question.
100%.
Like.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
But go ahead.
You put your input, but then you push it to the professional, for them to fact check you.
Right.
I think that's great. I think that's exactly how it should be.
What other questions?
Oh, yeah. So I had another question. So we recently just talked about how you learn something new in every transaction, right? And, we've all had those rough transactions where it's just complicated and problematic. Have you ever had like a really, really smooth transaction where you don't even feel it? And like, what made it smooth?
Yeah, those are rare. I mean, even if it's a clean deal or a smooth deal, there's always something that I have to step in on, or there's always a challenge. Sometimes the challenge is the customer. The customer is hard to deal with for whatever reason.
Communicating with them, or
they're not good with documents, or they want to talk about every single cent on the disclosure, which I'm more than okay with. But that makes it not smooth for me, if I'm being honest. It's more time and energy into that deal, which is fine. I'm willing to do that, but there's always something, it seems like. But then every once in a while you get like my ideal client, if I had to define it, would be younger, let's say a couple in their 30s that just got married, that have W-2 income, that have decent credit, doing 5 to 10% down conventional, buying at a $600,000 house. Those, to me, and not only are they, and the reason they're my ideal client is not qualification wise. It's more so that's the personality that I mesh with and likes our system and appreciates the way that we communicate, appreciates
that clientele.
Our process. Correct. Correct.
Interesting.
On top of the fact that should be an easy deal on the financing side,
right?
But it's more It's more so about what clients I enjoy working with and what clients enjoy working with me. I hired a coach, and he had me kind of like look back at my past deals and was like, select a few that like you really enjoyed working with, and they all met that criteria.
Yeah.
So,
you know what your ideal client would be.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I also know that like we're also really good at everything in between. At this point in the game, like whether it's low credit or investor working with investors or self-employed people, like at this point I've done enough volume and I've seen enough files where even outside of my ideal client, we're really good at servicing them, which is good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
How long have you been in the
doing mortgages? 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
8 years. Started the first year to 2, I was telemarketing, like trying to drum up refis and then passing them over to a loan officer. And then I decided to get my license and take everything seriously. And that's when I started to work on my craft. And that's when I started to do social media.
Yeah.
And brand myself and all that stuff. So
question for you.
Go ahead.
Once you became a loan officer, what would you say you were doing then, and how is that different to what you're doing now to get clients or to get leads?
I started to look. I started to treat it like a business. I started to treat it like a business. So now at this point in my career, I have a marketing plan. I have a marketing budget. Yeah. I know the numbers on how to work everything. I have systems for everything, whether it's how to promote an event or how to, from the first initial phone call to the client all the way until the last, the clear to close closing day. I have marketing plans on how to follow up with my past clients. I have I have a staff that I have designed roles for each of them there where their tasks and responsibilities are clearly defined. So I think it's just more about making systems behind everything.
Right.
That's honestly my.
It's a whole business.
I think that's one of my talents or like highly efficient skills is putting together systems for things. Yeah. And that's a never ending tiring process because once you implement the system, you start to tweak it more, or you can't find the right person to run that role. And then, so but that's business. Yeah. That's what CEOs do.
Right.
They're not, getting into the weeds on stuff. They're like, okay, big picture. This is how it should work. How do we make it work? Step by step.
Right.
So that's, I think, the biggest difference between Eric 7 years ago to Eric now.
You have a bunch of systems in place, which you established over a period of time.
Tweaked, constantly. Yep. Whether even if it's my marketing plan, like, Train and I have been doing content for years. And I should say the guys at the Business Beacon, and even my social media strategy has changed multiple times.
Yeah, you have to adapt. Right?
I have to adapt because the platform's changing or my goals are changing.
Right.
So, if my goals and target audience are changing, I have to change up my content. If the platform's changing, I have to change up my content strategy. Yeah. First when I started producing content 6-7 years ago, all I did was hire a photographer. I didn't even do video. Like the video wasn't even big.
Yeah.
Right. So it was actually mostly pictures. So I would hire a photographer quarterly, so 4 times a year. I would show up with 3 to 4 different outfits, and we'd walk around my office or different areas in town and just take pictures. And I would post those pictures and then write the caption. That was my first content strategy, and that was my first. The concept of batching content. Like I showed up with 4 outfits instead of doing 20 shoots a year. I would do 4. Right. So that was my first content strategy. Now it's way different, and social media is way different.
Exactly.
And my goal is way different. You know, so
I'll talk to you about that.
So that's just an example of
100%.
how much you constantly have to tweak and improve things and change things.
I agree 100%.
What
I
else
got a
you
question
got?
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that because you gotta change with the times.
Well, actually, while you pull that up, what are you guys doing with social media right now?
So we put into place a plan.
Yeah, we have a plan, and we have the days and the hours where we dedicate to content creation.
Give it to me. Go ahead. What's the plan?
All right, so
What are you talking about?
You don't want to give the secret sauce away?
we have certain days out of the week where we sit down and dedicate at least 2 hours
Okay.
to
How many days a week?
content. At least 3 days a week.
3 days a
We sit
week,
down,
2
we
hours a
dedicate to
day.
content,
That's
yeah.
6 hours. Yeah,
And in that 2 hours, what do you do?
it's from beginning to end. So it's everything from recording, from actually brainstorming, getting the ideas together, the scripts, researching, getting the ideas for the next videos, batching it, that kind of thing. So it could be like, for example, one day in those 2 hours, what we did is that we came up with 3 ideas for 3 videos, and these were the scripts that we're going to use.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Another day for those 2 hours, we're going to
Shoot it.
go to the place, we're going to shoot them all, try to batch it. And then on the third day or on the next content creation day, we'll take that time and pretty much edit it and get it ready for like a release, like a scheduled release.
So you guys are editing too.
Yeah.
Right now, it's all in-house. We want to outsource a lot of the things because obviously we're all given 24 hours in a day, all of us, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the person who wins is the person who knows how to delegate their time and use what they're their time that they're best at. What they're best at.
Or works more. Sometimes it's like, do I just delegate this and pay somebody to do it, or do I just work an extra 6 hours a week?
There's so many ways you can look at it. But I look at it like, for example, what am I really good at? That's what I want to be doing,
Yeah.
I'm not the best video guy, but I can get somebody who does the videos, like train, somebody, and they'll go ahead and make the video for me, and then it'll match my quality, you know? So, I mean, we're at that stage where right now we're just keeping it all in-house because we're still getting familiar with, the algorithm, with content, with being a creator. We're still getting familiar with the whole process. Yeah, we're new to it.
And we're kind of still figuring out what format, what type of content we like best for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're still kind of in a mode where we're seeing what's successful and what's not as far as, social media goes, what gets the most engagement from people.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still figuring that out too. We're still in the beginning stages. We started putting out content together in December? Yeah, in December.
So it hasn't
it's April now, so it's only been about 5 months.
Yeah, it's not a long.
And doesn't give me enough time for me to review and really see, versus when you're doing it for a whole year. Okay, now let's break down this whole year and let's see what we can change, what we need to adapt, what we need to do. Still too early in the business.
That's huge because I think a lot of people delegate too soon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't actually know the task that they're delegating. So, for instance, I'm launching a podcast called the Mortgage Pro Podcast, right?
Okay.
I could easily hire a company to. I have a editing. These guys edit for me, so that's already happening. Yeah. So that's going to happen with the Mortgage Pro Podcast. But I could hire a company to post all of the content and write the copy and distribute it, and I could outsource all of that. I don't want to outsource that yet because I want to understand it before I outsource it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you guys are trying to do,
which
is like super, super powerful, because I've made the mistake, and it's because of social media, honestly, because you have all these gurus that are talking about delegate, delegate, delegate. But you have to understand the task that you're delegating before you delegate.
Yeah.
Because what ends up happening is you give it to somebody and they suck at it. And
you don't
get
know
upset.
they suck at it.
Right. And you don't even know they suck at it.
Right.
Correct. It's like, because you haven't done it yourself. Now, I also believe, because that's one side of it. The other side of the coin is like, you don't need to, like, if you're the CEO of a huge supermarket chain, you might not need to know how the register works. It would be good to know, but you might not need to know, right? So there's two sides of that to that argument, and it's better that somebody's doing it than you not doing it, because there's also tasks that in all of our businesses that we could delegate that we're not even doing. So it's better to get 50% done or done at a level of 5 than not be done at all. Yeah. So there's always two sides to things, but I think that's super, super like valuable. Just posting a podcast episode, I almost freaking ripped my freaking hair out. I swear to you. I put the clip on YouTube. That I know how to do, right? But distributing it, like I had to create an account for Podbean, and then Podbean puts it to Apple, Spotify, and wherever else.
Oh, okay.
So I'm doing that. Then I had to create an account for Apple and Spotify and wherever else. Then, it's just, and then I realized I didn't have the MP3 to the episode. I only had the full video, which is the MP4. So I had to get a converter to get me the MP3. Like,
yeah, you need both.
I could have just delegated this stuff, but I also want to know how it works because this is a very important channel for me. Mm-hmm. And I want to know specifically, not so much the posting, that can be compared to that register analogy. Not so much the posting, but the distribution. Like I need to know how that works before I just delegate it. Yeah. Because I don't even know what I'm hiring somebody for.
Right.
So I think that's super powerful that you guys are doing that. And I
we're in the beginning stages.
But it's. Have you seen any results from social media?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I think we've seen too much results.
What do you mean?
Elaborate.
Too many, man.
No,
too many.
You mean like as far as what?
Huh?
As far as what?
No, I think we've seen good results. Good results. It's produced DMs. And here's the thing, man. You'll post a video, right? You won't get a lot of likes on it. You won't get a lot of likes. You won't get a lot of views. But a lot of people see it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's more eyes than you think. You'll have a video that says, hey, 2,000 views, but it's more than that. There's a lot of people that see it. Mm-hmm. And just because you have 10 likes, I mean, there's a lot of people who liked it who just didn't like it. You know, it's just, you know, but there's a lot of like that happens.
I'm kind of stingy with likes on social media.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
give away likes.
Nah, I'm kind of stingy with likes. I like all of my friends' stuff. All of my friends' stuff I try to like when I see it.
Yeah.
Right? But like, you know, if I just watch like a funny video, I don't always like it, but I like it.
But you like it.
I'll send it out, you know, because I'm actually worried sometimes that my name's gonna pop up on something like inappropriate that I liked it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about chicks. I'm not talking about chicks or butts or anything like that. Because social media is filled with that stuff. But I'm talking about like political stuff.
Yeah.
Like skits and trolling and funny and,
you gotta be
politically
careful.
inappropriate because. I don't want it to be a politically inappropriate or incorrect video, and then it just says liked by not your average lender. Right. So I'm kind of stingy with.
You want to be as
like,
neutral as possible.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
You want to be as neutral as possible.
And I do the same thing. I'm very careful with what I like.
Yeah,
because
because then the algorithm starts sending you things that you like.
Yeah,
you know, because if you like it, now next thing you know, now I'm seeing all these things
you're talking about something else. But social media is wild right now.
Keep your feet clean, guys.
Yeah. So, what other questions?
Oh yeah, I had this other question. So, So no matter how good you are at your job, right? You're always gonna have that buyer or borrower.
Yeah, that's good.
Or borrower.
Yeah.
Who is just gonna ghost you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They stop picking up your phone call. They start ducking you. You had a great conversation, and then they just ghost you. Mm-hmm. What do you think, like as a loan officer, should that loan officer just insist until this person just eventually dies, or should they, just hey, you know what? They're not answering, so that's it. I'm never gonna reach out to them again.
I think it just depends where you're at in your career and what stage of your business you're in. Like, it's not smart for you to follow up with the guy or girl that's not answering you when you have 6 other new clients coming in. Mm-hmm. So, but if you have no other clients coming in, hopefully you're calling that person every so often. I also think that there are systems that you can build out to help you kind of market to those colder prospects. And I'm not talking about super, super techie stuff. I'm just talking about simple drip campaigns and stuff like that, because you never know what's going to happen. But I would say most of your time and energy and your priority should be on the warmer prospects. But I also think the trick is to build out and have marketing, have your marketing side of your business give you new prospects every single, like that's the real problem to solve. It's not how to chase the cold ones. It's like, how can I get more warm and hot ones? That's where most of your energy should be. Generating new business.
New hot leads. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Prospect.
That's a good answer. Yeah, that's a good answer.
But there should be some sort of system on how to follow up on cold stuff too.
Ice cold. Yeah.
Whether it's put it in your calendar for 6 months from now and call them. That's one call that you wouldn't have made. Yeah. And it could be the call that makes a difference.
Yep.
Or it's putting them on a drip campaign or texting them nonstop for 7 days. I feel like that's what you do, Mike.
Texting them nonstop.
You just don't give up. You don't give up on the prospects.
So I'll tell you a story, man.
With that shirt and tie, you're not giving up.
I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story, man. I had this one client who I followed up with who never responded to none of my text messages. Never. Insert
sad sound.
They never
tears on his face. Go ahead.
They didn't respond to anything. And what my plan was, the texts that they were getting were just like automated texts for holidays, things like that, letting them know that I'm still here, even though it's been a year and they haven't responded to anything, nothing, right? And then a little after that year was over, they called me out of nowhere. I got a phone call. And I got scared because I thought there was a mistake. Maybe they called me by accident. I was like, why are they calling me? I almost forgot. I'm like, oh, yeah, I've been bothering them for the whole year about buying a house. And sure enough, they called me saying that they were ready. Even though they haven't, and I never brought it up. I'm like, why didn't you ever respond to me? No. Just went right into it. Just like, all right, let's get this done. 100%. Because I know why they called me. I know why. It's because I was always in front of them.
Right.
There was always in that message from me, hey, happy 4th of July, Merry Christmas, whatever, Right. And because I was always present, I think it's because I was always present in front of them the day that they needed a realtor.
Right.
They thought about me.
Yep.
Yep. That's what it is.
That's the key right there.
Yeah.
I think a great way to follow up with colder prospects is make sure that they follow you on social media.
Yeah.
They can
100%. Yeah. And that happens. Yeah.
100%.
They're always seeing you. Yeah. 100%.
That's why I started to link my social media on everything. My emails, my business card, after somebody books an intro call with me, they get an email that has my social media at the bottom, because I know the more times I put my social media in front of them, the higher likelihood of them actually following or subscribing. And then once they follow or subscribe, they're in my space. I'm not going to stop making content. So it's going to be very hard for them to forget about me. Right. And I think even if you're doing like more lead stuff, more lead business, right? Whether it's Zillow or you're buying leads, whatever it is, like have those prospects follow you. That's probably one of the best ways you can end a phone call. Even if they don't seem like the person to be like super social media savvy or whatever it is, like you have Instagram at the end of your phone call, follow me on Instagram, type it in. It's, or not your average lender, whatever it is. And
I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
So speaking of Instagram, having them follow you on Instagram, right? Do you have 2 Instagram accounts, or do you just keep it as one? Like, for example, would you consider having a personal Instagram account and then a business Instagram account, or do you just mesh it? My business is my personal, and that's it.
Yeah, this is something that I'm a little bit of an idealist on, and I have a strong opinion on. I don't think you should have 2 accounts.
Okay,
that's just me. I think my personal life is my work. My work is my personal life. I get personal on my work page. It's not like I have to be some,
Yeah, forget you're a lender sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't forget me.
I forget you're a lender sometimes. I don't forget.
I feel like if you do it 100% business and you're not a person, people don't like that. People will unfollow or just tune out.
Yeah,
they might not unfollow, but they'll tune out. They'll be
like, you gotta add some personality to the business page.
100% personal hobbies. Just take pictures of food. Like show them you're a person.
Yeah,
like so you like why would you need 2 pages now? The one comment or rebuttal that I get on that because I've spoke across the country to loan officers, all shapes and sizes and ages and whatever. And the one rebuttal that I get from that is, well, I have a family and I don't want to put my daughter on the internet. And that's the only thing I can say about that is I get that. I can get that only to the extent that I can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have family, so I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
So if you want to have your family page and you don't want to put your kids on like Gary Vee has kids, you never see them on his Instagram. Gary Vee has a wife. I think
he probably has a personal.
two.
He probably has a secret Instagram.
He went through a divorce and has a new girlfriend. And you don't see her on anything.
It's not good for business.
So, and that's a guy who gets super personal on Instagram. So I think it's for you to define what you want to put out there or not. But that doesn't mean have 2 pages always, right? But yeah, I think you guys are not only on the right track, you're already seeing the results of your hard work, and I noticed the hard work. So I wanted to bring you guys on and get a chance to chat it up with you guys and introduce you to the all the viewers and listeners.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you so much, Eric.
No
for
problem.
having us. Appreciate it, man.
Us. Yeah, it's a pleasure being here. We like your work.
Thank you.
We do, and we look forward to doing way more business with you.
Awesome.